Father, I stretch my hand to thee. No, no
Welcome again to the Hall of Wisdom. Thank you again for tuning in to another amazing week. Last week, we played a clip of our bishop to our church, and it was so nice, I wanted to do it twice. So today, I shall air another video of Bishop. But listen, I don't want you to go anywhere, because at the end of this clip, we will be announcing the 3 winners of the book scholarships. So I want to thank you. My family want to thank you for your donation toward these wonderful t-shirts. E-flat, let me try my wings. And because of you, we were able to give away 3 $500 book scholarships. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to the end of this broadcast and let's celebrate our winners. We'll see you then.
Amen. Amen. The 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse number 7 through 10 is a very interesting passage of scripture. As a matter of fact, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 7 through 10 are verses that really highlight the importance of 2 Corinthians. When you look at this particular pericope, you will understand that Paul, in his trying to encourage others, he gives a snapshot or a portrait from his personal life. And deliver me from people who always really want to look at and really want to encourage others, but they never talk about themselves. I've discovered the quickest way and sometimes the best way to tell others about the power of Christ is to explain and display how that power has impacted and empowered your life. Don't tell me what he can do, show me. Don't tell me what he can do now. But the problem with that is that in order to show people the power of Christ, you've got to expose sometimes your past or present flaws. And because most of us have walked around very lofty, and because we have walked around in a very hypocritical and a very fictitious way, we have made people believe that we are things that we're really not. And we've made them believe that we possess things that we really don't. And we've made them believe that we've lived like we really haven't. And so therefore, I've come to tell and to share today that Paul was sharing his story. He was uncovering himself. He was uncovering his hidden secrets and hidden things of his life. But here's the deal. In doing so, Paul paused long enough in his teaching to show us how to manage misery. Now, there are those of you who have already tuned me out and turned me off because you have suggested by your posture that this message has nothing to do with this celebratory moment. Well, here's the problem. I discovered that everybody that's in this celebratory situation and setting is not really celebrating, because there are those who are here that's too overtaken with misery to celebrate. Lord have mercy. I've discovered that we are living in an hour where there is a plethora of miserable saints. We're living in an hour where the saints are sad and the saints are disgruntled and the saints are bitter and the saints are sick and tired and the saints just don't have any joy left. But I've come in this room to make an announcement that I've been making for the latter part of this year. I need for everybody to understand that I have made a definite decision in my life to be happy for the rest of my life. Okay, y'all ain't got to say nothing because I'm almost done no matter what you say. I said I have made a definite decision to be happy for the rest of my life. As a matter of fact, if you feel like I feel, push on somebody but don't hurt them and tell them I made a definite decision to be happy for the rest of my life. I have made up in my mind I'm going to be happy if people come to church. I'm going to be happy if I'm there by myself. I'm going to be happy if they give. I'm going to be happy if they don't. I'm going to be happy if they like me on Facebook. I'm going to be happy if they don't like me. Y'all ain't happy. I just made up in my mind to be happy. Is there anybody on your roll who have made up in your mind that you are going to be happy for the rest of your life? Some of y'all say, well, you're happy because of what's going on in your life. No. Let me help you understand something. Happiness does not come from happenings. Y'all ain't happy. But if you are happy, you can make things happen. I'm going to try that one more time. Happiness does not come from happenings. But if you are happy, you can make things happen. You won't know why some stuff in your life is not happening because you're so miserable, nobody wants you around. You're so negative and so bitter and so just uptight about everything. Nobody wants you around. If you smile, somebody will come. Listen, let me help you understand something. I had one of my sons who will remain nameless, but I prophesied to him years ago. I said, listen, you're going to make somebody laugh one day until they write you a big check. Your happiness is going to get you in a place. And lately, the enemy had been trying to fight his happiness. But what the Lord helped me to understand that the enemy was not just trying to fight his happiness, but if the word of the Lord that was spoken over his life is true, the enemy was really trying to fight his destiny. Because if you're being happy and making others happy is what's going to cause this infusion of finances, then what the devil will do to make you miss your moment is to get you sad so that you'll stop being happy, so that people will stop wanting to be around you. I don't know who I'm talking to in here, but I need to tell somebody, if you don't get that sour look off your face, you're going to miss your blessing. Look at somebody and tell them like your mama used to say, tell them straighten your face up. Straighten your face up. Talking about, well, you don't understand all of the stuff that's going on in my life. I may not understand that, but I do understand this. Just like you got stuff going on in your life, join the crowd. Matter of fact, if I'm going to prove my point, everybody on your row that's got something going on in their life that they could be sad and sorrowful about, just go up and down your row and tell them folk on there that feel like they the Lone Ranger, tell them straighten your face up and join the crowd. I could be sad if I chose to. I could be depressed if I chose to. But here's what I've chosen to do, and I'm almost through, Chris. I see the runway coming. Here's what I've chosen to do. I have chosen to manage my misery. Okay? All y'all sitting in here trying to act like I don't have any misery or Bishop don't have any misery. Listen, if there was one thing I have learned from my pastor, I have learned this. He's never said these words, but he's lived like this. he lives his life like this. Never let them see you sweat. I don't care what's going on. You can know stuff is going on with Bishop. He could be in the hospital, and you call him and say, Bishop, how you doing? Ah, bud, everything's fine. Bishop, you need anything? I don't need a thing. I'm fine. Okay? It is because he has learned to manage misery. And all of us that are connected to him, this is why I don't understand. This is why I don't understand. All of us that's connected to him, why are you so sad when our leader is happy? Okay, you're sad because you don't manage your misery. When you look at the text, Paul is in a miserable place in his life. While he is in misery, he is not miserable. Okay, you got to learn how to be in misery and not be miserable. Because if you're miserable, it will even mess up your prayer life. I don't have time to talk about this, but you know that passage of scripture that talks about you have not because you ask not, and then you ask and not receive because you ask amiss. The old folk, you say you have not because you ask not because you asked and missed. And we used to laugh at them, but listen, they was on to something. Because what they were really saying is that you aimed prayerfully at a target and didn't hit it. And the reason why you didn't hit it is because when you look at the word amiss in the Greek, that word means badly. So it says you asked and did not receive because you asked badly. But not only does it mean badly, it also means sick or miserable. So what he says is that you have asked from a sick and miserable place. Can I help somebody in here today? The reason why the Lord has not answered some of your prayers is because you have prayed from a bad place. You have prayed from a sick place. There's some stuff that you ain't been healed from, and because you haven't been healed from it, you are praying that the Lord will give you something so you can show up and make somebody else think that they, listen, when you look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, if you get healed, you can get your prayers answered. Okay? So Paul is in a miserable place, but he is not miserable. He has a thorn in his flesh. He has a thorn in his flesh. He has a thorn in his flesh. There is much theological debate and speculation as it relates to whatever this thorn is. Some say it was malaria. Some say it was some kind of migraine headaches. Some say it was not anything to do with a physiological malady as much as it was a propensity. Some say it was his habits and hang-ups that caused him to have the thorn in his flesh. Whatever it is, here's what I do know. I don't know if it was malaria. I don't know if it was a migraine headache. I don't know if it was his propensities, but this thing I do know, all of us, like Paul, have a thorn. There is something, because when you look at the word thorn, it means literally a stake. So he has a stake. He says, I'm walking around with a stake in my side. I ain't talking about T-bone steak. I'm talking about a steak like you have when you're trying to put railroad tracks down, or even a wooden stake. He has a stake. He's walking around with something sticking in him, aggravating him all day long. And there are those of you right now that can look at your life, and your life is just the newspaper that disclose that you got a stake in your side. There is something aggravating you. Can you look at your neighbor, if I'm talking about you, and tell them he ought to mind his own business and stop talking about me? I know what it's like to have a stake in my side, because when you got the stake in your side, you would really try to keep it to yourself, but it makes you feel like it's so obvious that everybody can see it. Y'all ain't happy. It makes you feel like everybody knows what's going on with you. You walk around with paranoia because you think everybody knows your situation and everybody knows your story and everybody knows your dilemma. You walk around feeling like everybody knows that there's something going on in my marriage, and everybody knows I'm getting ready to get fired over my job, and everybody knows that my money is funny and my change is strange. Everybody knows. But here's the true deal. Even if they do know, so what? Oh Lord, I'm gonna have a fit today. I can see it. I said, even if they do know, so what? Stop trying to prove yourself and validate yourself with other folk with bigger stakes in their side. Okay, so Paul says, I have a stake in my side. So here's what happens in the text. Paul has a stake in his side. He has a stake. So now Paul says, the reason that I have this stake, number one, if you're going to manage misery, number one, you've got to understand the first thing, and that's purposeful punishment. Come on, say that with me, class. They just had it up on the screen. Put that passage, put verse number 7 back up. He says, and lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelation that was given to me, a thorn in my flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Here's what he's saying. He's saying that was given to me a thorn in my flesh. Watch this. Now, don't get mistaken when it says the messenger of Satan. Even though it says the messenger of Satan, you cannot negate the fact that while God uses the devil to deliver the thorn, it is because of his permissive will that the thorn comes. And so therefore, if it is because of his permissive will that the thorn comes, then therefore God have signed off on your receiving a thorn. Now, hear what I said. So if God have signed off on your receiving a thorn, why did God sign off on your receiving a thorn? Listen, all this time you talking about the devil is busy, you better understand, I don't care how busy the devil is, he can't be any more busy than the Lord allowed. The Lord allows the devil to be busy so that he can grow you up, as my daddy would say. He allows this punishment because the punishment is purposeful. Do you know you would be a mess on wheels if God allowed you to be successful at everything you tried to be successful at? If you never had any failures, if you never had any setbacks, I mean, come on, look at it. With all of the stuff you have obviously failed at, and look at how arrogant you are. You'll be a mess if he let you have everything you want. You get one good suit and think can't nobody outdress you. What if he lets you have a closet full of them? That's why the psalmist says, it was good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes. Watch this. When the text says learn, really in the Hebrew, it really means to teach. Okay, what do you mean by that? See, it means that I have learned by studying and studying, because I'm studying and I'm going through this not for myself, but I'm going through it so I can help somebody else. As a matter of fact, you need to look at somebody as I close and tell them, you better be glad I've gone through what I've gone through. Because he'll let me go through it for 10 years to help you in 10 minutes. Purposeful punishment. But then secondly, if you're going to manage it, I'm done. If you're going to manage misery, you've got to couple this purposeful punishment with persistent prayer. He says, for this thing I besought the Lord thrice. I sought him 3 times. That's literally what the Hebrew word that means, 3. 3. I sought the Lord thrice. But now get this. While it is saying I sought the Lord thrice, while the literal interpretation is 3, the figurative interpretation is that the number 3 gives a sense of completeness. So I sought the Lord completely, consistently. Okay, I wish I had some old choir number 2 alumni in the room. Wish I had some senior choir alumni, or I wish I had some alumni from the Shady Grove Baptist Church from whatsoever city you come from, that can tell you and remind you that that was a day in time that we sang songs that meant something. And one of those songs that we sang said, I kept on searching till I found him. Oh, Lord. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I kept on searching until I found him. Listen, I know these people tell you, just go to the Lord and pray one time, and that's all you got to do. I don't care what you say. I'm praying until something happens. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, push. And I said, what you mean? Why are you telling me to push? That is acrostic for pray until something happens. Pray until you get an answer. Pray until the situation changes. Pray. Persistent prayer. He says, I kept on praying. And when I prayed, there was a shifting. Y'all ain't happy. Y'all ain't happy. I said, I prayed until there was a shifting. And how many of y'all know when God answers, he'll shift things? Okay. Here's point number 3. Because there is persistent prayer. But the persistent prayer, Rhonda, is followed by a peculiar promise. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient. Oh no. You're ready for this. You ready for this? The word sufficient. You're ready for this? This is absolutely deep. Here it is. The word sufficient means enough. Oh, look at you. You look so disappointed. Oh, I know you were ready for me to give you one of those highfalutin Greek words that meant something so supernaturally extraordinary until it blew your mind. But that ought to blow your mind. Because when it says my word, or my grace, rather, is enough, which means that no matter how large your problem is, my grace is enough to handle it. Listen, old school right here. Old school. I feel like shouting like one of them old mothers. Just get stiff as a board right now and just shout. What he's really saying is God's grace can handle whatever you are going through. So I want you to think about the worst thing that's going on in your life right now. I want you to pull that up on the screen of your mind. Think about what you're going through. Think about the most miserable act that's taking place in your life right now. And I want you to look at that and tell that thing that his grace is enough to handle you. What you mean by that? His grace is bigger than cancer. His grace is bigger than HIV. His grace is bigger than herpes. His grace is bigger than tuberculosis. His grace is bigger than diabetes. His grace is bigger than haters. His grace is bigger than unemployment. His grace is enough to handle it. Lean over, I'm done, and shake somebody's hand and tell them he can handle it. I got to go, but that neighbor don't feel like talking, and this ain't the right time to be quiet. Tell them he can handle it. neighbor is stuck up, provide one that's a little loose and tell them he can handle it. Oh my God can handle it. I said my God can handle it. You may begin, I'm getting out of here now, but look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor he's able to handle it. I got the clothes, but that neighbor don't feel like talking. So find one more neighbor and tell that neighbor I'm a witness that his grace can handle it. That neighbor has a lockjaw, crossed the aisle and found another neighbor and tell that neighbor that oh neighbor, come on, grab him and tell him, neighbor, neighbor, I want you to know that whatever you're going through, he can handle it. Yes, Lord. And I heard him say that not only is there a peculiar promise, yes, Lord, but the final thing that I see in this text, when I look in the text, here's one more thing I see. I know I usually give you 3 points, but that was something that the Holy Ghost said to me. He said, there's one more point. I said, they taught me 3 points. He said, I said, there's one more point. I said, well, what is it? He says, after the peculiar promise, he said, if you're going to manage a misery, that has got to be a producing posture. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, if you're going to cash in on the peculiar promise, you've got to have a producing posture. It's all in how you handle yourself. Push on somebody, but don't hurt them, and tell them it's all in how you handle yourself. Yes, Lord. You see, I've learned how to let people laugh at me, but while they were laughing, I was producing. Y'all ain't happy. While they laughing from a pew, I'm holding the mic because it's all in how you handle yourself. Lean over and tell somebody, don't ever worry about who's laughing at you, because my daddy said, he who laughs last laughs best. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm getting ready to have the last laugh. Yeah. Somebody's hand like you're gonna shake it off. Tell them, I'm getting ready to have the last laugh. You say, how do you know that? Can you pull up the last verse? Here we go. He says, therefore, I take pleasure in my infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecution, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when the world? Is that so? So in other words, I handle myself like you can't look at me and tell what's going on. Stop being so transparent and so predictable that people can look at your life and tell when you're going through. You ought to have the same walk when it's raining and the same walk when the sun is shining, the same shout when you got a pocket full of money, and the same shout when you're broke as a joke, the same dance when things are going well, and the same dance when look like all hell has broken loose. Tell your neighbor, I'm gonna keep it, I'm gonna keep it the same, and I bless the Lord at all times. Yes, Lord. And I wish I could find somebody in the room that will tell your neighbor, I'm gonna be consistent and I'm gonna bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. Y'all ain't happy. They ain't gonna be able to look at me just like my daddy and tell what's going on, and I'm out of here when I tell you, he said, and the reason why I keep the same posture is because I know a secret, and the secret is my weakness is getting ready to have a metamorphosis. My weakness is getting ready to turn into strength, because anything that don't kill you makes you better. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, when I come out of this, when I come out of this, I'm gonna be stronger, wiser, better. Yeah. Anybody? Yeah. Anybody that know you're gonna be stronger, run, find somebody, push them, tell them I am gonna be stronger. As a matter of fact, pull on them a little better and tell them, as a matter of fact, I feel stronger already. Y'all ain't happy. I feel stronger already. Is there anybody that feels stronger already? Let me hear you. I'm sorry. I tried. Yeah. Better already. I'm done. We're standing all over the building. Better already. Better already. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but here's what I decided to do about November and December of 2013. I'm going to finish strong, because when I think I'm weak, then am I strong? His strength is made perfect in weakness. Why is that? Because sometimes when you get so weak, you can't fight with it. You can't fuss with it. You can't argue with it. You can't kick against the brick. But you just have to lay there and say, Lord, I'm so weak. I can't do nothing else. And I heard the Bible say that when you are weak, his strength is made perfect. Why is that? Because at that moment, it's all of him and none of you. Tap somebody and tell your neighbor, it's all of him. It's all of him. Y'all act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. You know that poem you got in your bathroom, that poem you got hanging on your refrigerator about the footsteps in the sand, that's what that means. The one set of footprints is his footprints, which means you ain't have nothing to do with it. It's all of him. I'm done. It would not be a trip to new beginnings for me. I could not say this. And thank God it fits right here. Because there's some folk in this room that's really managing your misery. Anybody, you didn't realize that's what you were doing. But anybody, you succeeding in bad times. Look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, I'm succeeding in bad times. So I'm managing my misery. And so if I'm managing my misery, it equates to one thing. Give me E flat, Chris. It equates to one thing. I tried the man. That's what it means. And the man is all right. I tried the man. And the man is all right. Pull somebody in if you're managing your misery and tell them I tried the man. And the man is all right. I tried the man. And Jesus, so is all right.
I told you it was going to be an amazing word. How to manage your miseries. What an on-time word. Thank you again for tuning in, but I want you to stay tuned to this next clip. Our daughter, Ember, will make the announcement of our 3 book scholarship winners. I'm excited.
Hi, Hall of Wisdom fans. Today it's time to hear. Today we're announcing our first Hall of Wisdom book scholarship recipients. You guys did an amazing job submitting your essays. You really made it hard to decide. But before we announce those winners, we just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who bought t-shirts, who donated money to the Hall of Wisdom. This is what it's all about. We're helping our youth in the community through you. Thank you again so much. So without further ado, those winners of the first Hall of Wisdom book scholarship in the name of Bishop Stephen B. Hall are Gabrielle Johnson, Stacy Brown, and Destiny Johnson. Again, that's Destiny Johnson, Stacy Brown, and Gabrielle Johnson. You guys did an amazing job. Please look for an email from the Hall of Wisdom explaining further details so you can receive your scholarship. Thank you.